Hey, what's up, everybody? Tim Albrecht here, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ask a YFP CFP segment of the Your Financial Pharmacist podcast, where we feature questions from you, the YFP community, to be answered by one of our very own fee-only certified financial planners. Please note this podcast is intended for educational purposes and should not be considered financial or investment advice, as we do not know all the variables to one's personal situation when answering a question. Before we jump into today's question, a shout out to our extraordinary YFP financial planning team that makes this segment possible. Your Financial Pharmacist offers fee-only comprehensive financial planning services that are customized to the pharmacy professional. So whether you want to pay off your student loans, make the right investment decisions, or simply build a solid financial plan, we'll help get your income working for you rather than the other way around. You can learn more by visiting yfpplanning.com. Again, that's yfpplanning.com. Okay, this week's question comes from the Facebook group where Blake asks, as easy as it is to refinance student loans and as free as it is there any reason not to do a variable loan right now with really low rates? And then if they start to go up, just refinance them into a fixed rate. So thanks to Blake for submitting this question in the YFP Facebook group. We saw this. We thought it was one that others might be thinking of as well. And as a reminder, if you're not yet a part of the YFP Facebook group community, we'd love to have you. Over 7,000 pharmacy professionals all across the country committed to helping one another on their path towards achieving financial freedom. Tim Baker, what are your thoughts on Blake's questions regarding the refinancing of loans?
Yeah, this is a great question and timely because I think I got another email. I've got a few emails about rates. One with Ally savings rate going down, but also with some of our refinance partners. I know, the rate's going down there. So if you have a lot of debt, low interest rate, or you're buying a house, this is actually a good time, but not so great for, the savers out there. So the question here is to variable rate or not to variable rate. That's the question. So people in general like certainty and will pay a little extra for certainty, but I think there are certain instances where this one might be something to look at. And I think it really depends on your appetite for risk and kind of just your outlook on the economy and where you think rates are going to go. So variable rates right now, one of our partners, Ernest, I got the email from, I think their variable rates, are as low as like 1.99%, whereas fixed rates are just shy, their best fixed rates are just shy of 3%, 2.99%. The question is, so just to back up, just to cover, for a fixed rate student loan, your rate is just that. It's fixed over the course of the 5-year, the 7-year, the 10, or whatever the term is. So every month your payment's going to be the same. With the variable rate interest, it's a little bit of a moving target. So your rate could stay the same. It could go down. It could go up. Typically, student loan lenders set their variable rates based on an economic indicator known as the LIBOR, the London Interbank Offered Rate. And just to put a few of our partners on notice, we should be telling our borrowers how we're tying the variable rate. So I looked at a few of the websites. It's not there explicitly. So we should be actually outlining that. I'm sure it's in the term agreements, but it should be on the website as a FAQ. So typically lenders determine variable rates by adding the LIBOR rate to a base rate. So it might be LIBOR plus X percent. And I think they could use either the 1 month or the 3 months. Some adjust variable rates monthly. Some, it's every quarter. So if the LIBOR rate goes up, your rate goes up, in exactly the same manner. The other big thing to consider here is that typically with variable rates, they're capped, but the caps can be as high as 25%. So there is a really, there's an upside here that could happen. Now, to Blake's point, if rates go way through the roof, you can always refinance to a fixed, which again is going to be in relation to where the rates are at that moment, with little downside. So the thought is if you see rates start to creep up, you could say, hey, I just want to stem the tide here and refi to a fixed rate, and then you're good. It's easier for a student loan because there typically aren't any origination fees or anything like that you see, or closing costs that you see with like a mortgage refinance. So you're a little bit less constrained because we have to figure out like what's the break even point and things like that. So who is this good for? Variable rates, I typically say these are for people who are borrowers who are typically taking an aggressive approach. So I have $30,000 left to pay back. I'm paying $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So I'm gonna pay that off way before the 5 year, which is typically the shortest term I can get. So it might make sense on that short term to get the variable to save that 1% in interest that we see as the delta right now. It could be if you don't mind the risk. If you say, hey, if it goes up, it goes up, but I just want the best. I want the most room in my budget right now. Or if you're betting that rates are not going to go up anytime soon, which you could make a pretty good argument for that. So those would be the things. Again, some people look at it, they're like, nope, I just rather pay the extra 1%, which equates to this amount of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, because I know over the course it's going to be this and that, and that's that. So again, it is going to depend on your situation, on what you're looking at. But to Blake's point, you can lock in a really low rate. And then when you start to see the tide shift a little bit, you could jump ship from the variable and go to fixed. And that's, just as well too.
Great stuff, Tim. We've talked about fixed and variable before. We haven't, I don't think, addressed that concept where you start variable and then you see rates change and then you can go back and lock it into a fixed rate if you want to have that comfort, or if it's moving in a direction that you're not necessarily comfortable with. So again, grateful for Blake putting this question out to the YFP Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question, please go to yourfinancialpharmacist.com/ask-YFP or shoot us an email at info@yourfinancialpharmacist.com. Have a great rest of your day.